Have you ever met a child who is a total chatterbox at home but completely silent at school or in public? It's not shyness, and it's definitely not a choice. This is a condition called selective mutism, and today, we're going to break down what it is, why it happens, and how we can help. Selective mutism, or SM, is a complex anxiety disorder. It's defined by a consistent inability to speak in specific social situations, like the classroom or a birthday party, even though the person can speak perfectly fine in comfortable settings, like their own home. Imagine feeling so overwhelmed with anxiety that your voice just won't come out. It's like being physically frozen, unable to produce speech. Many people misunderstand this as defiance or stubbornness, but it's an involuntary response driven by intense fear. This condition affects about 1% of young people and is more common in girls and multilingual children. While we often think of it as a childhood disorder, if it isn't treated, it can continue into adulthood, making life incredibly difficult. So, how do we know if it's selective mutism and not just extreme shyness? The official diagnostic criteria found in the DSM-5 are quite specific. First, there must be a consistent failure to speak in certain social situations where speaking is expected, like answering a question in class. This pattern has to last for at least 1 month, and we don't count the first month of school, as many kids need time to adjust. Most importantly, this inability to speak must interfere with their education, work, or social life. A key difference between SM and shyness is the warm-up period. A shy child might be quiet at first, but will gradually start to talk as they feel more comfortable. A child with SM, on the other hand, might seem like they have a dual personality, loud and boisterous at home, but completely silent and inhibited elsewhere, with no warming up. It's also important for clinicians to rule out other conditions like autism spectrum disorder. While communication is affected in both, with ASD, challenges are typically present across all settings, whereas with SM, the silence is situational. What causes selective mutism? Research suggests it's a mix of factors. There's often a genetic predisposition to anxiety, combined with what's called an inhibited temperament, meaning the child is naturally more cautious and reserved. Environmental factors also play a role. One thing we know for sure is that SM is not caused by trauma, abuse, or neglect. That's a harmful myth. Once SM takes hold, it's often kept going by something called the cycle of negative reinforcement. Here is how it works. A child is in a situation where they expect it to speak. They feel a surge of anxiety, so they stay silent. A well-meaning adult, wanting to help, steps in and answers for them. The child feels immediate relief because the pressure is gone. The adult feels relief because the awkward silence is over. But here is the problem. This rescue reinforces the idea that staying silent is the best way to cope with anxiety. In the long run, it strengthens the habit of not speaking, creating a vicious cycle. The good news is that there are highly effective treatments available, and the key is early intervention. The longer a child is in the habit of not speaking, the harder it becomes to break that pattern. The gold standard treatments are behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. These approaches don't just talk about anxiety. They help the person actively confront it through gradual exposure. One powerful technique is called stimulus fading, or sliding in. This is where the child is talking comfortably with someone they trust, like a parent. Then, a new person, maybe a teacher or another child, slowly and casually joins the conversation from a distance, gradually moving closer until they are part of the interaction. Another method is desensitization. This helps the individual get used to the sound of their own voice in those feared settings. They might start by making audio or video recordings of themselves talking at home and then listen to them in the car on the way to school, or even in the empty classroom before anyone else arrives. Shaping is also crucial. This involves reinforcing every single attempt to communicate, no matter how small. It starts with nonverbal communication, like pointing or nodding. Then praise is given for whispers. Then for single words, and eventually for full sentences. It's all about building confidence, step by step. In some cases, therapy alone might not be enough to break through the initial wall of anxiety. When progress stalls, doctors may prescribe SSR as a type of anti-anxiety medication. These medications don't cure SM, but they can lower the person's baseline anxiety enough to allow them to engage more effectively in therapy. It's like a jumpstart for their brave work. So, how can we, as parents, teachers, and friends, support someone with selective mutism? We have to consciously change how we communicate with them. First, avoid open-ended questions that demand a long answer, like "What did you do today?" These can be incredibly overwhelming. Instead, use forced choice questions. For example, did you have pizza or pasta for lunch? Or do you want to use the red crayon or the blue one? This lowers the pressure and only requires a one-word answer or even just a point. Next, embrace the 5-second rule. After you ask a question, silently count to 5 before saying anything else. This gives the person with SM crucial time to process the question, manage their anxiety, and find their brave voice. It can feel awkward, but jumping in too quickly is just another form of rescuing. And finally, avoid mind reading. Don't automatically assume you know what they want or need. Instead of saying, "Oh, you want the water bottle, here you go," you can model the language and wait. You can also use labeled praise. Instead of a generic "good job," be specific. "I love how you pointed to the book you wanted," or "that was a great whisper." This validates their effort and shows them exactly what they did right. School can be one of the most challenging environments for a child with SM, so advocacy is essential. In the United States, students may qualify for accommodations under a Section 504 plan or for more direct services through an Individualized Education Program, or IEP. A 504 plan could include accommodations like allowing nonverbal signals to answer questions or giving them a seat where they feel less exposed. An IEP might provide services like speech therapy or counseling directly at school. One of the most effective strategies is to identify a point person at school, a trusted teacher, counselor, or aide. The goal is to first establish a speaking relationship with this one person in a safe, private setting. Once the child is comfortable talking to them, that person can act as a bridge, helping to gradually expand their circle of communication to other staff and students. Ultimately, the goal is to transform that vicious cycle of avoidance into a virtuous brave cycle. In the brave cycle, the individual learns to face their fears in tiny, manageable steps. Each time they successfully communicate, even with a nod or a whisper, they build confidence. They learn that the anxiety, while uncomfortable, is temporary and that they are capable of getting through it. Progress isn't always a straight line. There will be good days and bad days. But every small victory, a wave hello, a quiet thank you, or joining a game on the playground is a monumental step forward. With patience, understanding, and the right strategies, we can empower these individuals to find their voice and share it with the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content on mental health and child development.